But you, the WBC, think that you better than everybody, don't you? So since you, the WBC, and you got the green belt, which don't mean it, and real belt is the ring belt, which is free, motherfucker. Who you talking about?
Can you talk about the difficulty of this decision?
Yes, it's very sad. It is very complicated to have to vacate a title, to withdraw recognition of a champion hurts very deeply.
And this is what TKO is saying. Why do you have to pay them? Don't pay them. Don't adhere to the...
Terence Crawford has called for a boycott of the WBC after the organization stripped Shakur of his title. He's criticizing it for what he describes as arrogant leadership, overly strict rules, and excessive sanctioning fees.
$1,000. What makes you so motherfucking better than any of the other sanction bodies? Huh? To that question. What makes you better than the WBO, the IBF, or the W?
Crawford clashed with Mauricio Suleiman, arguing that he could claim the belt if he chose to, while criticizing the WBC president for imposing what he called an unnecessary $100,000 fee on Shakur.
The fucking belt. It's a trophy anyway.
Mauricio Suleiman stripped Shakur of his title, just as he had previously done with Terence Crawford, citing rule violations and missed payments as the reasons for removing their WBC championship status.
For lightweight, then he unified and became undisputed in welterweight against WBC champion, who was Spence, in a great fight. Yeah. He petitioned to fight a final elimination bout in super welterweight against Madrimov and remain champion in welter. The WBC supported him. He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%.
Shakur Stevenson took 2x to voice his frustration, saying he had just paid. The organization, after his last fight and questioning why he was being asked for another $100,000, suggesting he was being targeted because of issues involving Bud, Terence Crawford echoed that frustration, arguing that officials live comfortably off the fighter's sacrifices, while the athletes absorb punishment in the ring and are still required to pay what he considers unnecessary WBC sanctioning fees.
You know, and guess who gotta pay for it? Us fighters. We paying for y'all to come out here, have the time of y'all life, stay in the best hotels of y'all life, and it's all done on our dime. It's done on our dime. Do that sound right to y'all? It's crazy, ain't it? We the one out there getting battered, knocked upside our head, and every time we step foot in the ring, we gotta pay them a sanction fee like they the government. We getting taxed.
Shakur Stevenson expressed his frustration by saying he wouldn't hand over $100,000 to people he felt didn't deserve it, adding that the WBC had nothing to do with the fight, yet still wanted a cut, and insisting they could take the belt because it doesn't define him. Meanwhile, Roy Jones Jr. weighed in, stating that regardless of disputes, stripping a champion of his title is unfair, disrespectful, and reflects poorly on the organization.
Under attack, when the sanctioning system is under attack. This is a glaring example about why maybe they shouldn't exist. Maybe they shouldn't be in boxing if you are going to reach into the pocket of a fighter like Shakur Stevenson, ask for $100,000. According to Shakur, there's been no comment on this for the WBC. I asked for one. I talked to a member of their staff and said, tell me what's going on here. And all I've seen is the Instagram post of the WBC saying they were stripping him. To reach into the pocket of a fighter for a fight that you have nothing to do with and asking for $100,000. I don't care how much money Shakur Stevenson made that night. That's his money. That belongs in his pocket. The WBC had nothing to do with it. It is disgusting disgusting that they stripped Shakur Stevenson of that belt. And Shakur would be right to never fight for a WBC belt.
Chris Mannix strongly criticized the WBC for demanding what he described as excessive fees from Shakur Stevenson, calling the situation unfair and unacceptable. He argued that regardless of how much money Shakur earned, those earnings rightfully belong to the fighter, and the organization has no moral claim over them. Mannix went further by saying the current sanctioning system is fundamentally flawed, claiming it exploits athletes who already endure intense physical and mental challenges inside the ring. He emphasized that fighters absorb punishment, take significant risks, dedicate their lives to the sport, yet still face heavy financial demands from governing bodies like the WBC.
Crawford's well within his rights to say that I ain't giving you $300,000. Why? Like, why am I giving you $300,000? What for? And don't talk about my purse. Mauricio Sulaiman saying Terence Crawford made 50 million. What's that got to do with you? No. And what I like as well about Terence, he said, look, I gave the IBF money, I gave the WBA money, I gave the WBO money. We haven't heard any of those organizations moan about the amount Terence Crawford gave to them. They're like, oh, we'll take it. Because ultimately, what are they doing? Apart from strapping a belt around your waist, what are they doing? And we'll get to that as well. So he then tried to give the WBC that amount of money as well. They clearly said, no, we're not taking that. We want a bit more. And then they're like, okay, normally we take 3%, but 3% of 50 million would have been too much. So you know what? We'll allow you to pay us.
WBC first sparked controversy with Terence Crawford when he declined to pay a reported $300,000 fee following his fight with Canelo Alvarez. Many believed Crawford was within his rights to refuse, as he questioned why he should surrender such a large amount when other sanctioning bodies like the IBF, WBA, and WBO had accepted their standard percentages without issue. Crawford argued that his purses were his own business and that Mauricio Sulaiman had no clear justification for demanding additional money. He even offered to pay the customary 3% of his earnings, but the WBC reportedly pushed for 6%, significantly higher than what other organizations required. Analysts pointed out that beyond awarding a belt, sanctioning bodies often play a limited role in the promotion of a fight, making such elevated fees a subject of
ruled inactive at that weight class. So despite nobody beating Shakur Stevenson, he is a undefeated fighter. Nobody took his belt, but for whatever reason, the WBC has decided him moving up has created some type of void and have now made and declared his title vacant, allowing the division to successfully move forward with new contenders. So in this case, Stevenson, he didn't lose his belt in the ring. Nobody beat him. He's still undefeated. The title was vacated administratively, which is a difference. And we need to establish the facts from the fiction. So nobody beat Stevenson. It doesn't really hurt his career, his official box rec. And it says he's suspended by the commission indefinitely. So I'm not sure if he has some type of injury, but usually when it says indefinitely, they got to get clearance from a doctor to come back. And again, this could be possibly from his fight with Shakur Stevenson. So this is a developing story, and we'll see ultimately how it plays out, what the WBC officially decides to do in terms of who's next and what's next. So what are the facts? What does this mean? Shakur Stevenson was not stripped for any type of misconduct. Shakur was not penalized per se, and Shakur Stevenson is not suspended. So it simply reflects the WBC has considered him no longer active at lightweight at this time. A bit political, that's the only thing.
Stevenson remains undefeated. No opponent has taken his title from him inside the ring. However, the WBC declared the belt vacant after he moved up in weight, stating that his absence left a gap in the division. That decision opened the door for new contenders to fight for the championship, even though Stevenson was never beaten for it. The distinction matters. The title was vacated through an administrative move, not a loss. His record and accomplishments remain intact, and his undefeated status continues to define him as one of boxing's elite fighters. regardless of the WBC's ruling.
Blast WBC and responds to being stripped of a £135 title. This is a bit wild. It's a bit wild. And the reason it's a bit wild, so many different reasons actually, but one of the biggest reasons is that Shakur has always said, I want to go up to fight Teo, but I want to come back down to 135. So basically, he's almost telling the WBC, let me go up there, I will come back down. And with what the WBC are going through right now, and this battle with Zuffa, where, you know, they've got some real big players and power over there, and they're saying F the belts, and WBC are fighting, saying none of the belts mean stuff. The last thing you want to do is have a public spat, a public back and forth with one of the biggest names in boxing right now. Now, Shakur Stevenson is one of the biggest names in boxing. And the thing about Shakur as well, you piss him off, this guy will go straight to social media and make it.
Oladipo described the WBC's decision to strip Shakur Stevenson of his 135-pound title as unusual and controversial. Stevenson, who remains undefeated, had indicated that his move up in weight was temporary and that he intended to return to the lightweight division. Despite that, the WBC declared the belt vacant, arguing that his inactivity at 135 pounds created a vacancy and cleared the way for new contenders to compete for the title. Oladipo pointed out that the situation reflects what many see as the organization's rigid and bureaucratic approach, especially considering that even though Stevenson's last fight was not for the WBC title, he was still required under their rules to pay 50% of the sanctioning fee as if it had been a full title defense.
Or from him, sorry, which was $100,000. Now, a lot of you might say, well, one second, his last fight wasn't for the WBC, it was for the WBO and the ring title. Why did the WBC want any money from him? The WBC have a clause, I think it's either 7.3 or 7.4, yeah, where even if you do not fight for the WBC belt, if you're a champion of their belt, i.e. which Shakur Stevenson was, you have to pay 50% of the sanctioning fee as though the WBC belt was on the line. Does that make sense? Let me see if I can find it. I'm going to find it and read it out to, so I'm not paraphrasing, because this is quite important and I think it's a joke. I think it's a joke. I really do. All right. Okay, yeah. All right, rule 7.3. I'm going to put this on the screen.
The analyst considers the policy excessive, especially since Stevenson was never defeated for his title inside the ring. Oladipo also noted that the WBC's handling of Stevenson echoes past disputes involving other fighters, illustrating how sanctioning fees and administrative decisions can create friction between champions and governing bodies. Ultimately, while the administrative stripping does not impact Stevenson's undefeated record or overall career standing, it raises broader questions about the fairness and transparency of sanctioning body rules.